Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 1. Very good, but by no means a masterpiece. I think that is the perfect way to describe the first season of the show. I know I'm late to the game, but I'm finally started watching JJK, and I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I will get into why right now, and we will break down some of the episodes, my thoughts on them, thoughts on the characters, some of the really good stuff, and some of the really poor stuff. Let's get started. Now let's start with episodes 1 through 13, which is what I would consider the setup of the show. We can introduce the characters, and this is the part where Itadori finds out about his powers, and he learns them, he gets mentored, and he, obviously, spoilers, he dies, but comes back. I'm going to consider this the setup because this is before the first big arc we get. And it's really introducing the characters. I really like what they did here. I really like the whole aspect of, having the being inside of him who's partly controlling over him. Kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of thing there. But also, he can control his body too. I just thought that aspect of it was really cool. And I thought the aspect of him dying off and then bringing him back was a really good aspect because you never really see the main character die, especially very early on into a show, or yeah, just very early on in a show. And I thought that aspect was very unique. And let's talk about the characters. The characters are probably some of the best characters I've seen in a shonen. Of course, we have Itadori, the main character. Starts off as, a nobody, but then gets powers by eating a finger. Just kind of weird when you think about it, but just the part at the beginning with his grandfather and how he died and how that inspired him to help people. It's just amazing. Amazing storytelling and amazing writing. And obviously Gojo, funny character, um, great introduction to him and his personality. Everything about him is funny, and we find out he really cares about his students. He really wants to protect them, and he likes mentoring people. Not just Itadori, also with Megami. He likes to mentor him when he asks for it. He just loves to help people. That gets into Megami. He's such a deep and rich character. Getting the stuff with his sister, especially way later on into the season, and how he does really care and how he does really want friends, even though he acts like he's this tough guy, but he really wants companionship and friendships and relationships, and he's just a really deep character. And I thought the way they did his character, again, amazing writing, just amazing writing. And then obviously Nanami, who mentors Itadori as well when he dies, and again, it's just all these characters are great, all of them. There's some I have issues with, but I don't hate the characters. Every character in here is just written so well. Like, in a lot of shonens, obviously there's some characters you have to focus on and some characters to leave on the sidelines. And yes, they're there, but there's so many more characters that are just all get their time and all get their attention. I just love that. I love great character writing, and JJK just has that. Now, Kugasaki, I'm mixed on Kugasaki. She, at first, when I first saw her, she was very, very unlikable. I thought she was just, annoying person, always picking on everybody, beating Itadori up, beating this guy up, and just like, really? But over time, once Itadori came back, she's become a much more likable character, and she sympathizes with Itadori, and she's probably the main love interest. And yeah, she's growing on me as a character. And obviously Junpei. That whole section there. We get the start of their bromance, and how they meet each other. And then, obviously, to his death. This whole part with his death is just so sad. Especially he's manipulated by this jerk right here. Because he was obviously going through a lot at this time. Three people dying and just... And then this guy comes and manipulated him. Oh, you should be happy about that. And so sad, because Itadori did all he could to save him. And it looked like he was going to be saved. But then this guy comes and kills him. And, bro, I'm just crying. No, I'm crying, but getting emotional just looking at this part right now. It's just so sad, man. Yeah, rest in peace, Junpei. Hope you have a good time in heaven or whatever. God. So depressing. Screw that guy. And now let's move on to the weakest part, which is the exchange arc. This first season could have been a 9 out of 10 for me. It really could have. But then they added the exchange arc. This arc, for me, at least, was just so boring, man. It was so dragged out, and the stakes were so low, and just everything. Especially, I think one of the big things was, like, the characters were separated, and, like, the trio from each other, and they just work so well together, so separating them doesn't really add anything. It makes it worse. Like, it got, like, slightly better with Todo. It got slightly more interesting when Todo got into the picture. Because then they were fighting, becoming friends, and they were fighting other villains. But it was just still kind of boring, man. Like, I don't know, man. There's not much I can say about this arc, because there's not much happening. It's just boring. Once Goro comes back in, it gets, again, slightly more interesting. But this whole part right here is just boring. Let's get into the last few episodes. The strong ending. Obviously, we have the stuff with Fushiguro's sister, and that's all good, and, the people who are going by that bridge and keep dying, and people think it's, like, cursed spirits, and that leads to the final battle, which is a great final showdown, although it does end in a weird spot. I am hyped for what we have to see with Season 2, and again, this is where I think the girl character is more likable here, as we see them fighting, and so, Fushiguro's, like, laid down, but then he's good, they kind of fake us out there, but yeah, I'm hyped for what Season 2 has to have. I'm going to start watching that today, and yeah, I give this first season an 8 out of 10. Very good, by no means a masterpiece, has some rough spots, but excited for see what to come is Season 2. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more like these, let me know later.